This episode is brought to you by our partnership with Grand Canyon University. Welcome to the Ignite Project, a Polk County Public Schools podcast made for teachers by teachers. Teachers of all experience levels need each other's enthusiasm and passion to fuel an ongoing desire to do what it takes to meet the needs of our students. And that's what this podcast is all about. Be energized by their enthusiasm to ignite a love for teaching while they challenge others to join them in their work. Join us now.
Welcome to the Ignite Project. I am Tomeka Thompson, Teacher Engagement Leader, and we are here today with a very special guest. Kelsey Whalen from Lake Gibson Middle School is here today to share a bit with us about how her school is approaching community outreach. Kelsey, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
We are very excited because I know that you have some great stuff to share with our audience today about what Lake Gibson Middle School is doing. But before we do that, I just want to congratulate you on being Lake Gibson Middle School's 2020 Teacher of the Year.
Thank you so much. It's a humbling honor.
Absolutely, and well-deserved. I have been in your classroom. I've observed you teaching students math, of all things. I've seen you connect with teachers on your campus as a peer mentor in the Extending Excellence program. You've graduated from Leading from the Classroom, our teacher leadership program, and you were a dynamic breakout presenter for our last spring Emerge Symposium. I love that how you shared with teachers about building community through empathy, teaching your students about teaming and all of those wonderful things. So I know there's a lot about Kelsey. So share with us, what do you want the audience to know about your career in Polk County Public Schools as an educator?
Well, I have enjoyed every minute of my career thus far in Polk County schools. I've been at Lake Gibson Middle School for the entirety for about 3.5 years now. And I've taught math, I've taught ESE math, inclusion math, regular math, all the good things with math. And I have loved it so much just being around the kids. And really the North Lakeland community is where my passion is. And so I'm excited to share with you guys about what we've been doing in the North Lakeland community and kind of see what I can help others to learn.
Absolutely. I'm excited that you'll get to share that passion with us, which is so evident when I see you with students, when I see you with your colleagues. And I love that you talk about loving the community, connecting with the community where your students come from. So with that being said, share with us a little bit how Lake Gibson is really challenging the status quo with family engagement. What approach are you all taking with connecting with your families?
Yeah, so it's been really an exciting adventure. This is going on our third year of our outreach program. We call it Lake Gibson Middle School on the Road. And I can't really take credit for the original vision, which was through our Title I coordinator and an old assistant principal of ours. They're the ones who had the original idea. But around that idea, we built a team, and we have really taken the On the Road title seriously by taking school outside of the four walls. So that's really where we are kind of challenging the status quo, because I feel like a lot of people just assume that parents and families want to come to their events at school. But since we were really struggling with getting people to come, we were like, you know what? We're going to stop asking for that first, and we're going to step out of our comfort zone and go to them and see what kind of difference that can make.
That is a powerful reflection piece. So the catalyst for this was you weren't getting the families to come to the school, so you all literally get on the road. Tell me a little bit about that. What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. We weren't getting people to come to our events, like open house even. Our turnout was not that great. So we have partnered with many members of the community, such as churches, even Lake Gibson High School, but primarily Simpson Park Community Center, to be able to host events on their properties, which are pillars in the communities of our students. So it allows us to really go straight to where they're used to going. And we have focused on academics with these outreaches, yes, but a lot of it is just showing them, hey, we're here for you more than just being your teachers and more than just being your administrators, but we care about you as people. So let's hang out, let's play basketball together, let's have game nights, let's have pizza nights, and let's see what kind of community we can really form. out there where they're at.
I love that. That means you've shifted from just communicating with families to connecting with families and looking for ways to have that mutual back and forth with families. So what are some things that had to fall in place to bring this all together, to make this happen?
The biggest thing with all of this is relationships. So we had to build the relationships with our families, but first, before doing that, we had to build relationships with stakeholders in our community. So we reached out to different churches. We reached out to the people at the high school. We reached out to Simpson Park and just kind of asked them, hey, here's what we want to do. Here's our vision. How can you help us with this? And so not only have we gotten places to go to, but we've also gotten a lot of sponsors. So for us to be able to do some of these events outside of funding that we were already getting through the school, we've had a lot of businesses that have partnered with us, such as Mid-Florida and Olive Garden, Chick-fil-A, all of those kind of places. So that's been really cool to see as well.
That's been really cool to hear about. I passed by Lake Gibson Middle School and I see some of the signs out front showing off some of those business partnerships. So what were some of the challenges as you all were reaching out to the churches, to the community centers like Simpson Park and these businesses? Did you all encounter some challenges that you had to overcome? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course. And everything that you're trying to do when you're trying to break the status quo, you'll eventually get a no answer. But every time you get a no, that means you're closer to a yes. So there were some partnerships that we tried to form that it just didn't end up working out. And that was okay. We just had to keep moving forward past that. So communication was kind of hard, especially when communicating outside, like with churches and stuff like that, because it's kind of hard to see what staff members to reach out to. Mm-hmm. And then some restaurants that we would go to and ask for donations, they were like, no, not right now. And that's really okay. It's just had to keep trying and trucking along, so.
Right, so you all were motivated by your purpose to push past some of those hurdles that you were encountering with some of the no's.
Exactly.
That's awesome. I'm imagining your families were probably unfamiliar with this approach, but on the flip side of that, I'm imagining you've seen some benefit. So what benefits have you seen with your families, with your students, by taking this approach to community engagement?
Right. So it was totally a new concept for them too, just as it was for us. We really used social media to push. It was actually the first year that our school started utilizing their social media as well as when we started this to really advertise the events. And we use our marquee in the front because at middle school level, sending home flyers doesn't quite work so well.
They don't make it home.
Right, exactly. But we tried that. I mean, it worked a little bit. But taking that targeted approach through those modes was really helpful for advertising purposes. And then we were able to kind of just show them through our actions, like, hey, this is what we're here for. This is kind of the way we're going. And they really responded well to it. I think that it started out with a lot of our students just coming to the events, but we were able slowly and surely over time to also engage the families. And we kind of spun the events, like instead of just saying it's like open gym basketball night, it's family basketball game night, things like that. It's all about the verbiage. So
absolutely.
And really, I think the parents especially appreciate it. And they show it by just telling us, like, hey, thank you so much for hanging out with my kid tonight. And thank you. We would teach them about Parent Portal when they'd come to these things and, like, teach them about testing that's coming up, giving them strategies and all those things that they might not have known about prior to coming to the event. So they were really able to leave better educated about their child's education, which then forms that bond that we were looking for between what's happening outside of the school and then inside the school.
Love it, love it. Now, so we've talked a little bit about the families, how you connected and engaged with the families, how the students were the first to take you up on this offer and how they show up and then the families followed them. What about the rest of your staff? So in addition to the team who's planning and coordinating these events, how did you get the rest of your staff on board?
We advertise to all of our staff members every time that we have an event. So we send an email to them, we share it with them in the teacher's lounge, communication, all that stuff, so that they're aware of what's happening. And every time we have something, they're all invited. So even if it's just one person popping up once or one person continuing to come, it's been really cool to see that every time they do come, they have a really positive outcome with it. They're like, wow, like my students really love seeing me here. I'm going to come to more. And so I think for them, it's eye-opening just as much as it is for the students and families to see us as for some of those teachers to see the students and families outside. And it's been cool because our administration has been super supportive. So they make a concerted effort to come to all of our events as well. And I think it's really awesome for them to see a pillar of our school out in the community too.
It's so refreshing to hear about this whole staff approach. So if I am at a school where we don't have that, we have the traditional family involvement approach where we are inviting families to come to our school for orientation and for other events, but we are displeased with the turnout. We're not getting as many parents to come out as we would like. What are some things that I could do as a classroom teacher? Where do I start if this is something I'm interested in?
Well, I think anytime that you have a vision or a passion for something, you always start there. And you hold tight to that regardless of what's in front of you and really just do your best to push through whatever barriers are in front of you, whether it's people saying no or anything like that, and just try to bring people around you who will support and then continue to grow from there. So if you just hold tight to what you have, like that you are wanting, then it's very possible for you to make it happen.
Absolutely. So in your mind, is this something that a classroom teacher could drive? And if so, what would be their first step? What's a practical first step for a classroom teacher who's really interested in increasing the engagement within that teacher's classroom or beyond that for the whole school?
I think it would be really feasible for them to start with their classroom if it's something that they're looking for support and don't quite have it yet. For you to just have, a day where you and your class meet up at the park with their parents or something like that outside of school to show your parents in your class that you're making this effort and that you want this type of student relationship and family relationship and all that stuff. And then I think that a lot of administrators would probably see that as a super positive thing and
Most
then
definitely.
hopefully hop on board that it can then grow into a school-wide.
Absolutely. And I know that Lake Gibson Middle School is a Title I school, so that you all have an initiative to engage parents, and there's some funds that support that engagement. So if I am at a school where those funds are available to assist with that, would that be something you would recommend for a classroom teacher to check into?
Definitely. Your school should have a Title I coordinator, so you can reach out to that person because they do have a family engagement plan that every school has to publish. And so within that family engagement plan, they could write out, some things that you might want to see implemented, and then you can kind of work from there as well.
Absolutely. So things are a little different this year. So
Very.
with some of the limitations on physical gatherings, what is Lake Gibson Middle School looking to do with On the Road this year?
Well, it actually was quite sad that last year, a lot of our events ended up having to be canceled because of COVID and all that stuff. But this year, we just had our first team meeting recently, and we're super excited because we're going to be taking more of a needs-based approach with our community. So rather than just, kind of going out and having fun with the kids, which we're still going to tie in, we're really looking at what are the immediate needs of how we can serve our community. So although service has always been a big part of this, it's really much more evident as a need now. So for example, our first event that we're planning is a Healthy Sharks event. We're doing a hygiene drive, and we're going to try to get some community members out there who can help us maybe do some free screenings for health purposes and things of that nature, just to kind of show the families, hey, we care about your guys' health. Let us serve you in this capacity at this time to reach out to what the immediate needs are.
Wow. That's amazing. That makes me think, though, when we had to pivot to distance learning back in the spring, did you all see a correlation between those families that came out and were engaging with you at Simpson Park or at the churches and their involvement with their students once we pivoted to distance learning back in the spring?
Yeah, I would say we definitely noticed that a lot of those students and families were a little bit more engaged with their distance learning. Of course, it was still hard to reach some people and just with the circumstances the way that they were, but I think there was a positive correlation, and it ended up being that we could have an end-of-the-year parade, so we were able to go around in our cars as teachers and parade around through our community, and it was really evident to see how many of them missed that piece of the connection with their school, of how many of them ended up coming out for the parade. So I think that was a good end-of-the-year smile for us.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing with us about how Lake Gibson Middle School is going on the road, Kelsey. You've shared some really practical ideas that I think teachers across the board could really implement to see some improvement in how families are engaging with their school communities. We like to close our programs with this question. So I'm going to pose this question to you.
Okay.
If you could pick just one area of education where you want to spark change, where you really want to see a shift, where you would really like to ignite a difference, what would that be? So a change in mindset or whatever the case may be. So finish this sentence for me. I want to ignite.
It really goes along with everything that I've talked about, because this is a big passion of mine, and I want to ignite the idea that school is so much more than just the four walls of a building, that the school is a pillar of the community, and that we can show families that we are there for them in such a bigger way than just teaching their students the math, the science, the reading, all that stuff, that we can make a difference because they need us. And so I would really like to see that.
Well, I really think you all are doing that. So kudos to you, to your team at Lake Gibson Middle School, for all the staff, and to your families. I know that it must be really eye-opening for the folks who have experienced something different, perhaps at a different school or a different time, and now they get this opportunity to engage with you all in a way where you're really reinforcing the importance of community and saying that we're in this together. And I think our recent events have really highlighted how important that is, and how really schools are pillars in communities, and we have to do this thing together. So thank you so much for being here, and congratulations again on your 2020 Teacher of the Year honor.
Thank you, and thank you guys for having me. I've loved sharing. So.
Awesome. Well, we are so glad that you tuned in with us to hear about how you can challenge the status quo, how you can shift family engagement at your school. My name is Tomeka Thompson, Teacher Engagement Coordinator, and I hope that you'll join us for our next Ignite. Are you fired up? You can hear more from teachers like this by joining in teacher engagement events. You won't want to miss out on monthly virtual new teacher seminars, as well as major events like EdCamp and Emerge Symposium. Check out all of our upcoming events by following Teacher Engagement on social media at Teach Engage PCPS, or visiting the Teacher Engagement page on the Hub.
Thanks for joining us. You can subscribe to the Ignite Project on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, or watch online at the Polk County Public Schools YouTube channel. To learn more about the Ignite Project and other Polk County Public School podcasts, go to polkschoolsfl.com/podcasts.